I forgot we even had an agenda. Monthly budget report.
There's no questions on the money, Tim.
Okay, Tim, you want to give your little spiel and hopefully make it quick?
Yeah, the revenue for the month of September was $581,000. We're a quarter of the way through the year. And our total revenue so far, $11,385,000. We're at about 44% of our budgeted revenue. On the expenditure side, expenditures for the month were $1,600,000. For the year, $4.1 million. We're 16% of the way through the year. One of the items on the expenditure report that shows quite a variation is in the transportation expenditures. Year-to-date last year were $36,000, this year $95,000. The difference there is the timing of some of the payments to LADSI. Last year we had more payments in the month of June than we did in July. This year we picked up, those same payments were delayed and they were in July, which is why this year is higher in the transportation fund.
Do you have any questions that you had to answer?
Yeah, I was just going to say on the quarterly review, because of the fact that during July and August we were making changes to the budget, as we found certain things out before the budget was finally approved, there really isn't I don't see a lot of variation at this point in terms of what I project for the year in the budget. The one main thing that I highlighted in the report was that the No Child Left Behind, that grant, which is a combination of Title I and Title II, our Title I grant, which is services for at-risk students, the final allocation that we got just a couple of weeks ago went from $80,000 up to $158,000. And the final allocation for Title II, which is professional development, which is also part of No Child Left Behind, went from about $19,000 to $29,000. What we're doing right now is we're going through that Title I grant. We're looking at that additional $78,000. I'm working with Kevin and with Pam to rewrite the grant and determine exactly how we're going to spend that additional money.
Okay.
But that's the only major difference that I see in terms of what we budgeted and what our expenditures and revenue are going to be. There was a question with regard to a supply item, page 75. It's in the summer school area. What we did there, you'll remember when we did the sports camps during the summer, we charged an additional amount of money for the trainers as well as an additional amount for facilities. We took that money for the trainers and we paid out the salaries for the trainer. We had additional money left over. We moved the money into this account to pay for some of the supplies that generally that comes out of the trainer's budget that were used during the summer. So we transferred in $4,100 into this account. We've spent $3,100 of that. So even though there's no budget there, we actually have a credit balance of $940,000.
$940.
$940. Yeah, $940.
Any other questions?
Not on that. This month, you had in your packet the activity accounts, the report that you'll be getting every month. This shows for the month of September, beginning balance, the income, the expense, and then the ending balance in each of the activity funds. There was a question on a couple of the funds where there's negative balances. One was in Rouser and the other was in the general activity fund. When we get all the registration money, we put it all into registration fees. Okay. At the board meeting in November, you're going to approve a payment that's going to be from Riverside Brookfield High School to the activity accounts. And we're going to transfer that money into those accounts after the board meeting when the check gets cut. If you looked at the registration fees, the board account, you'd see a balance of $371,000 as revenue so far this year, whereas the budget was $225. So a lot of that money is going to be transferred out and go into different accounts.
You explained that last year, so I remember. I didn't ask that again.
So when that transfer is made, those accounts will have a
But the
positive
question,
balance.
the question really isn't why there's a credit balance.
Okay.
In the same package, we are going being suggested we adopt the new policy on the activity fund, and it says in there, which follows the state rule, if one fund is loaned more than $5,000, the board has to approve it. So if there's a deficit balance of over $5,000, isn't it in essence something being loaned to that activity fund?
Not if you technically collected it and just haven't posted it in your books.
Wouldn't a loan more be if we had to give money from senior class to the junior class of over $5,000?
And if we know in a particular case that we're not going to have the money to cover an expenditure. For example, in Rouser, which is one of those accounts, we had to make the first payment on the yearbooks, which put us into a negative balance. But the money, we're collecting the money for the yearbooks. We know that in the end, we're going to have a positive
Well,
balance.
again, we always
It's
struggle with what the rules mean
Yeah.
and what we do. At my company, if one company is credit and one's debit and they're loaning them, it's a loan. You can't have a credit balance. So I don't know what the rules are. If it's in the education fund right now and it's not an activity fund, again, simple without understanding it, that appears to be we're loaning money to the activity fund because it's not there yet.
Well, in my company, for trade management and trade spending, we can have negative budgets because we're paying down that, as they're selling it, they're accruing monies for that. So it
But
works
again,
out this way.
It's a
So
simple, in my mind, it's simple. There's a rule. What does it say, and are we following it? That's what my question is.
But all these fund balances, all these activity accounts are solvent. They're not on a total unsolvent with a negative balance.
No, it says, but it's in, we'll get to it when we go to the policy, but it says if an individual activity fund needs a loan over $5,000, the board has to approve it.
Well, maybe it's when we transfer the money, because we collected the money up front
Well,
with
you-
registration.
I'd rather not speculate. I'm asking a
Right.
question. I think it should be resolved to make sure we're following the rule correctly, that's
So
all.
Tim, can you check that out, please?
Yes.
I think the policy reads inter-fund loans, and I think they're talking about activity funds. I don't think it's different I'm not sure if that applies when the education fund is loaned to the activity
We'll have
fund.
Tim-
I could
have
ask,
Tim.
have Tim check with Todd.
Any other questions on budget?
There were just a couple of other items I just wanted to update the board on. The audit was completed and submitted to ISB by the deadline of October 15th. The audit's been posted on the website. You all received a hard copy of it tonight. The auditor will be here at the November 12th board meeting to do his presentation as well as to answer any questions on that. I did talk to the treasurer about the investment of the $8.9 million, and what he said was that we can take that money and segregate it and invest it separately, but we have to, the board first has to decide exactly what they're going to do with that money. We have to have an idea of what the time frame is in terms of how that money is going to be spent, depending upon what the board's going to use it for. So I think that we have to have that discussion first before.
You don't even have to-
I mean,
Before he can give us anything.
In addition to the 8.9, we have 5 million sitting in working cap. Now that we're getting monies up front and what we have a budget, we're not gonna spend 5 million. If he's investing that in 30-day paper as opposed to 90-day paper, we're missing some interest opportunity there also. So I would, discuss that with him on, where is he investing our monies and how can we optimize this, knowing that we budgeted basically, a positive, and we're sitting with 5 million, 6 million in working capital. We know we're not gonna touch this year or year out. Is there opportunities to get more interest?
Tim,
That's
check
all,
that.
I know we haven't got the 8.9 yet, and we understand we're what the timing is spending that, but right now, we have an opportunity with 5 million, 6 million, that he may just be doing 30-day paper or 90-day paper where we know we're not gonna touch it for a year.
Would we have to touch it if the second installment was late?
Well, I think we're gonna have to touch it regardless when that installment in March comes in, because we've gotten 44% of our revenue. Our balances are very high right now.
Right.
But now our revenue stream is gonna be very low for the next 4 or 5 months.
So you're envisioning lending out of the working cash fund to education fund? We're not gonna spend it. We're not gonna go down underneath 6 million in our fund balances. Because we don't, so we'll take a look at our cash flow, right?
Yeah.
All right, Tim, take a look at it and come back with us.
In addition to the 8.9, I mean, you know, when he came here, it got enlightening to me. I'm not, it's not only this district that should be questioning him, it should be another district that should be questioning him to optimize the amount of interest, especially in this interest environment.
Okay?
We should be challenging him. He should be coming to us and telling us, I'm gonna optimize your cash flow. I noticed for the last 5 years, you've been sitting with cash that you don't touch. It should be up to him, but, you know, if we gotta force the issue and optimize our interest, we should be optimizing it,
Okay.
you know?
And I don't think we've been in that situation in the
Yeah.
past.
We haven't had working cash for the last years? Yeah, we have.
Well, we got
We
to,
always had negative balances in the education fund that had to cover that.
All right, Tim, you'll take a look at it. Any other question on budget?
We never went on